Welcome, everyone, to Journey to the Cloud 6.0. We have a full house today and many special guests joining us for a Women in IT or Women in the Cloud special show, and would love to have people do a quick introduction. We have several allies, and we are getting really close to the restream limit. I mentioned to Lorraine there's a limit of 10. We may find out today what happens when you have 11 people as guests. My name is Dan Ray, and I am filling in for Matthew Brown. Matthew had a conflict this afternoon. We didn't want to have to reschedule, so I will be your MC for the day. And I am in the Chicagoland suburbs. Would love to have our guests and frequent visitors, allies, introduce themselves and maybe say where you're from. And if you'd like to share a fun fact, feel free. My fun fact would be I love playing pickleball. And if you don't know what pickleball is, you should totally look it up on Bing. Solomon, do you mind if we just go around?
Oh, I didn't know my mic was mute. Yeah, we can. My name is Solomon Jeremiah, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I've always been a part of this event. So my fun fact is I love playing PUBG. So that's for me.
Excellent. Lorraine.
Hi there. My name is Lorraine Lawrence. I'm in the Toronto, Canada office or area. And my fun fact is I have 2 French Bulldog puppies that are babies and are really mischievous.
That's awesome. We have a dog, so hopefully she'll be well behaved unless somebody comes to the house. Excellent. Frank.
Okay, how you doing? Frank Falvey is my name, and I'm situated in Cork in the south of Ireland. And I suppose I've been involved in technology for over 20 years, and the last few years mostly doing Microsoft Azure. And fun fact, I just cut down a tree where my cat used to shelter under, and I had to make her a house so she wouldn't get wet when she's out.
Excellent. Yes, we have 3 cats and 1 dog at our house, and our daughter owns a horse. Fortunately, the horse is not at the house. Welcome. Micah.
Hi, I'm Micah Hansen. I've been a Microsoft trainer while focusing on mainly Microsoft Office and Windows for the past 12 years or so. And fun fact, I guess I moved to Seattle without a job, and that's when I first got the opportunity to be a Microsoft rep. And then I moved to Florida since then for work. So I guess I've just kind of been hopping around.
That's awesome. Different time zones, different climates.
Yep.
I'm sure. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ryan.
Hello, I'm Ryan Scouten. I am based out of Southern California, so a little warmer than some of the other people, but as bad as the others. A Microsoft MVP in all apps and services and a Microsoft certified trainer. So I've been around in the collaboration space for quite a while. Fun fact, in case you may hear it, I have about 16 birds sitting in the backyard of my house. So 18 chickens and 2 turkeys. So you may hear a rooster crowing in the background.
Wow, that's cool. Welcome. Arindam?
Yeah, I was on mute. Myself, Arindam Mitra. I'm based out in Switzerland. I have like 16 years of experience, typically 5 years in Microsoft Azure. I'm a Microsoft Azure and mostly a DevOps advocate, like to automate everything possible. And my fun fact is that irony, it's an irony, but I'm just reading a book, which is like, the title is very funny, which is called Surrounded by Idiots.
As long as we're
That's
not Canadian.
awesome. Right.
That's why I said Lorraine. It's irony, but I had to say it.
Oh,
Yeah.
and Blessing, I know you joined us. Let us know if you are able to come off mute and introduce yourself. I know you are one of our presenters, so.
Hello, everyone.
Hey there.
My name is
Let's see here. Joseph, I think you are number 10. We have officially brought our Restream to its limit from a guest perspective. Blessing, are you able to hear? I think I heard you come off mute, but I can't tell if... Joseph, we're just going around with introductions. You're welcome to introduce yourself and share a fun fact if you'd like, and then we'll get started.
Yes. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yep.
I'm Joseph Barnett, owner and founder of Project Veteran House. We help homeless and service-connected veterans with transitioning and in permanent housing. Also, my LLC, JAB Cloud Solutions, and some other partners are working with other organizations to provide free Microsoft certifications, training, job placement, and then mentorships. And then, right now it's only 2 months old, but it's going fast. I'm an MCT, Teams. I love Teams. A little fact about me. I love music. I march drum corps, and I was in the marching band. So I love music of all types. So there's my fun fact. Nice to meet everybody.
Excellent. And Henry, I was just trying to put yours in the overlay. Early in the IT career, currently the AZ 900, and started in a role in IT, working on a service desk, and enjoys the experience and expanding cloud and cyber. And Blessing, let us know if you're able to come off mute here. If not, feel free to use the chat.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Blessing Okwong. I'm a student at the University of Uyo, and I'm a final year student. And also, I'm a front-end web developer and a lead instructor at our Target Tech Academy. And I'm so happy being here tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us. And Lorraine, I believe you are our first presenter today. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you. Feel free, others, to turn off your video, and we'll figure out the layout that works best for us here in Restream, as Lorraine has the floor.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen right now.
All the best.
Thank you. Can we see my screen? There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be part of this journey to the cloud 6.0. Tell you a bit about myself. We know, of course, I'm from Toronto, Ontario. Gave that spoiler away. In case you don't know any other Canadians, think of Wayne Gretzky, Drake, Bieber, why am I forgetting the names? The Toronto Raptors. Everyone knows the Toronto Raptors, and I'm just on the eastern coast there where that little Google dot is that's where I am. So you can also look me up by the QR code there, and then you can find my LinkedIn from there, and happy to connect with anyone here. So let me tell you a bit about my journey. I say learning is a journey. It's not a destination. I have been all over the place career-wise, and now have ended up at Microsoft. But I want to share some of my journey with you, because it's not a straight journey. People say, oh, you have to study IT and get into there. You can come from many different fields, many different areas to get where you want to be. So I started, and I can't connect the dots looking forward. When I stand now and look back at where I came from, it all makes sense. And I'm going to walk you through that journey with me. I started off my career as an art director in advertising. So we were talking about this earlier. Worked with companies like Labatt's and Hudson Bay Company. If you're Canadian, you know them. IKEA, Esso, all those kind of things. Worked on layouts, worked with photographers, worked with retouching artists, worked with like makeup artists, worked with all that whole crew. What you see in magazines, that's what I used to do. So it's a totally different field from what I am now. But it was a very old school technology field. And while I was there, I started to bring in digital assets. And it seems like a long time ago, but retouching and green screens and all these effects that weren't in advertising, I started to bring that in because I had a technology sort of bent behind me. So I brought that in and started changing the way we did our books and how we did our magazine ads and how we did our billboards and all that. So I started to bring in that, and it's bringing that transformational technology into a very old institution, which is advertising. So that's digital transformation. That's one of my points of where I came from. I also then I worked for Apple. They contacted me to come join them and to become a trainer for them way back a couple of years ago. I also did some other work with developing some technology with them. But at Apple, they were, Apple, everyone knows Apple, they teach you simplicity. And that is so important. And I learned simplicity, and a lot of the things I did, even the way they trained, was very simplistic. And everyone knows when they see Apple products, it's known for its simple nature. You're not guessing. There's not 500 pages to read. There's normally one cue card or one book or one page, and you've gone through your orientation. So very simple. So I learned from Apple. I learned simplicity, and that's very important for my journey as well. So digital transformation, think simplicity, and then I moved on. So I moved on to another company where I actually started to work PC for the first time. So I know we talked about Dan and I were talking about Macs earlier. This is the first time I've actually been on a PC in my entire life, because I worked on Macs my whole life. And I actually travel the world teaching Salesforce and Workday as a change manager. So I would go around, meet my colleagues, my employees, my teams, and introduce this new technology to them. First, finding out what their current situation was, and figuring out how to get them to learn the new system and what steps were involved. So I did a lot of curated content for them. I did a lot of special groups, the special help desks, all this kind of thing, just to get them to move over and change management, to get them to learn new technology. So from there, I learned Salesforce, and I traveled the world teaching that. I learned Workday as well, and how to implement that into the many teams. And this, again, was a Canadian government institution, and they were very old school again, so not very technological. They were using different technologies. And then I started to travel the world and teach that technology. And I learned a lot of problems that were going on. And I found that they were struggling to meet the needs of their clients because they didn't have the technology to do that. So what I introduced was what you see in front of you is a VR platform that took from 3.5 years to 3 to 6 months from the training. So it didn't take that long, but it couldn't get the people in the rooms at the right time to train these people. And these were engineers that had to certify projects and products before they got released to market. So they would turn down millions of dollars of business per country, and they were in 24 countries. So a lot of money they turn down every year because they didn't have the people qualified to do that. So I'm thinking, in this old school mentality company, how can we fix that? And that's when I found this tool, virtual reality, where we started going in and actually changing the way technology was taught to these engineers. And then they do their final exam in person after learning this. So this tool that you see on the left-hand side here, it's basically teaching them how to stack a certain instrument and how to use it. So they'd go through and do it, guided access along the way. And as they started doing it, they'd get less guided access, and eventually they're doing it on their own. And then they would go into a testing environment and actually pass or fail that course. And mostly it was passing, of course. So just thinking differently in my field, and when I was just teaching software, Workday and Salesforce, I came across this need, and then thinking about how I can change that, I got to use technology and bring that forward. So moving more into the technology area for this company was a great success, and they ended up building learning centers around the world focused on this to capture that business they were turning away. So when I think of this, I think of curiosities, because I was wondering how we could do this. So it's curiosity in that learning. It came from advertising, going to Apple, and simplicity. Here's curiosity. How can we do this? And you'll see in your days when you're studying or when you're doing your work, you'll see things that you think, oh, we could use this here, or we can use this here, or this is a problem. How am I going to solve it? So in our field, you need to be curious. And I think that's very, very important, because that will get you to other stages. And you can see I've come from a very non-tech background, and curiosity is a real benefit. Then I got hired at Microsoft. They actually approached me because I did a lot of training, Salesforce, Workday, and Apple, to come be a trainer with them. So I happened to be in Portugal when they called me, and I did some interviews on the phone in Portugal, and I became one of the first five female trainers around the world. And this is one of their early hires. And then I started to travel quite a bit. Planes, when we used to do them, taxis, eating out, the packing, the flights, all that was part of the in-person. I loved it though, because I got to meet my audience, and that was the best part. I was training, and that is so important when you're trying to design training, because you can change it or tweak it or modify it because you see the reaction, and you take all that in, because that's very important for when you're trying to design training. So there's in-person training. I trained some of the largest groups. I think the highest one was about 550. They flew me all over the world, including New Zealand. And actually my last flight was, I came back from New Zealand a week before COVID hit, and then everything stopped. So I went around the world teaching some of their courses and having great results. And some of that was just being curious again. So I was like everyone else in Microsoft that trains, but the pass rate was quite low. And when I say 70% pass, 30% fail. So I'm looking at the 30% fail. So I'd spend my evenings when I was traveling noodling the slides and fixing the way the concepts were taught and changed it. And I got pass rates as high as 94%, which I think is a great improvement, because I was looking at the way they were reacting to things. I was seeing where the questions were coming from, and I was playing with those slides, trying to improve it. So I think you need to really keep your eyes and ears open when you're in the fields and technology. And this is just waiting for someone to do this. So I started playing around with slides, and I eventually became course lead for that course, because I played around with it so much, and I changed so many slides to improve the course. So technical skilling and that diverse audience, because I saw the people in front of me, I could see where they were struggling. I could see where they needed help. We also did a lot of labs in Microsoft, and I could see where they're struggling with the labs. And I did a lot of tweaking, went into GitHub, and we did some modifications of the lab, again, to get the numbers up, to get the passing up. And everyone feels better, of course, when they're passing and being successful. So that's part of the curiosity again. How can we fix this? How can we change this? And that's part of what I did at Microsoft. Then COVID hit, and of course I said after my last trip to New Zealand, I didn't go anywhere after that. So everyone knows what happens when you were there. We went online, so I wasn't meeting customers, I wasn't meeting students anymore. So it was a lot tougher to see how they're reacting to things. Yes, you could see it in the chat, but it's not the same thing as the interactions we used to have before. So I had a lot of time too, because I wasn't traveling anymore. I used to do 2 to 3 cities a week when I was traveling. So I had a lot of time reallocation. And then what did I do? First at COVID, I had the one certification, and then I had an open hack, and then I had my MCT. I started studying. So I got a lot of certifications done while I was stuck at home and couldn't travel, because I had the time. So I took the opportunity to study. So I have a lot to put under my belt now that I was home and I had those qualifications. So I started with that creativity, think the art director thing, questioning what I was seeing, questioning what I was doing. How can we make it better? I spent some time at Apple where I learned that simplicity and how to make things simple for your users. Don't throw a lot at them. Keep the concepts very, very simple. Then the curiosity, if you think of the augmented reality, virtual reality training I was showing you, how can we make this better from all the interactions I've known, the people I was talking to, the business they were turning away? That's that curiosity. And then, of course, I got into technical skilling. And how does all that come together? How do I put my curiosity into technical skilling? How do I change the course? How do I modify what I'm doing in my PowerPoints to make it more simple for my users and help them pass? So those are some of the points are there. And then last year, I was fortunate enough to become a senior content portfolio manager at Microsoft using those certifications, because I'm now in my team, I'm the most certified in my team. So I'm sort of the technical expert in the team. When they need some help, I'm the one that jumps on those calls. So I have a lot more, it gives a lot of clout. I have a lot of resources now. I'm exposed to a lot of technologies that I wouldn't have had before. And I'm actually in charge of the escalation engineer. So I oversee their training at Microsoft. So when you when you call Microsoft and you have a help ticket open up and they transfer to these engineers, I'm training those engineers. And we're actually working on a really neat project that's kind of not in the public right now, but it's changing the way that training is taught to these engineers because they have very little time. They're time crunched. They get bored. PowerPoints are boring, and LMS systems are boring. So we're going to change the way that is taught to them. And as a senior portfolio manager, I sat in the calls, listened to the issues they were having, and started to think again, that curiosity I was telling you about, start thinking about how we can change and how we can improve and do something better for our engineers. And that's what we're currently working on. So I wanted to talk about that. I also brought out an exam. So as a trainer, it's exciting to be part of an exam. Well, I actually launched this exam as my project. So it's kind of very, very exciting. And I'm sure a lot of my trainer friends would be jealous, but the AZ720 was Troubleshooting Microsoft Azure Connectivity and Networking. It just came out of beta as in last week, and it goes GA in 2 weeks. So in the middle of June, it goes GA. So if you haven't taken it and you're in networking connectivity, it's a great exam to take and a great certification to have. So I just finished that recently in the last couple of weeks. It was a wonderful process, blueprinting and that whole process. It's a wonderful process. So my career path, just wanted to show it. Art director, I was a marketing manager, content developer, technical trainer, change manager, innovation lead, technical trainer, senior content portfolio, and who knows next. So you don't have to start in technology. You don't have to start in computers. You can start many different places and use your viewpoint, your history, what you know from all the other jobs, and use that to your advantage. So I think like I never started out as a computer person, but now I am a good IT person. So it doesn't have to be a one straight path. It can be from anywhere. And I wanted to just share that story. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Christian, you're so funny. Thank you, Christian, for saying Lorraine is the best. Anyone have any questions?
I was just listening to the part there where you were saying about slides. A lot of people are kind of sick of watching PowerPoint. I started doing one of the challenges there on Microsoft Learn, and they have a interactive sort of application. Did you see that one? It's very good, actually. I thought, yeah.
Yes, we're starting to do that as well, but I'm going to say my engineers need even more training. They do a lot of labs, and we do a lot of labs with them. So we are trying to change the way that is done. A lot of our LMS right now is true, false, answering questions, but we need to put them in the field. So we have to do a lot of more deeper questions, deeper challenges. So we're working on that right now. But PowerPoint can't be hard. But yeah, anything that gets you playing around, even when we started labs in the AZ900, labs made a huge difference because you get to play around in the field. It's like, I do that analogy. It's like learning to drive a car. You can read the manual they give you all the time and the book that the government gives you, but till you get behind that wheel, it's a whole new ballgame. So till you play out what you actually have studied, you really don't know enough.
Very good.
I'll throw a question out here, Lorraine, for you. So as talking about your transition and things you've gone through, I know we're talking about kind of a women in technology focus. What have been some of your biggest challenges and obstacles as part of your progression and your journey as far as your career goes?
Okay, great question. So I think as a woman, it's harder to be in technology. I've been in certain divisions or departments where I look up and there's 2 women. Even when I train in a room of 500, there'll be maybe 5 women, and you wonder where all the women are. And I think not having enough women in the room is challenging because anything you say or do is also held out differently. So it's really you're sort of the example for everyone else when you say something, or you say you're the only person saying it and you're the only female. So it's tougher. And I don't know if you're taken seriously enough a lot of the times, and you have to be consistent and show that you are smart enough and you're good enough and you're doing some of the technology, like when I was doing that augmented reality, there was a team working on it for several years and they said it was not possible. Well, I brought in a team, did a POC, and it was possible within 6 months. So you have to be, I'm going to say, push a little harder, because you can get there, but you just have to prove yourself a little bit more, I'm going to say, as a female.
Just to add on to that, so
yes,
as friends in IT, how can we make it easier? What are some things that we can do that would make it easier to want to get more women into the field, and two, just to kind of support those that are here? Because I know I've heard stories about people that have just kind of dealt so much with the bro culture that they get burned out and want nothing to do with IT or even just organizations in general. So what are some things that you seen those of us that are guys can do to help you out?
I would say be an ally. So if you're in a room and one of your female colleagues does a great presentation, acknowledge it out loud to her and to the team so they hear that. You can just, like, sometimes you just say, oh yeah, and you move on, but they need that extra encouragement. And it sounds crazy, but they need that extra verbal so everyone else hears it too. Otherwise, everyone can go out of that room saying, oh, what did she say? Did that make sense? So you want to support wherever you can. I don't say if it's not good, just, rah for no reason. But if it's good, they need that extra pat on the back. Honestly, it's tough being a woman. I've gone out of presentations where thinking, wow, that really flopped. And I was the only girl in the room. And then someone says, oh, it was really good. And I said, well, I had no feedback. No one said anything to me. So you don't know how it is. So just being that ally, being that extra, sometimes you just need to talk about it too. And literally I told you where I teach and there's like 2 women. I'm like, where's all the women? It's 2020. Where's all the women? Or 2022? There should be more women in the room. And they even say they struggle and they don't get taken seriously. So yeah, just support if you can. Be vocal. Say, that's great. Can I help you with this? Or even if you hear something that person could be involved in, say, hey, I've got someone I can connect you to. Please just connect them.
Lorraine, where would you say is a turning point for girls, women in, technology? Do you think early school, middle, college age, early career? Where would you say is the most critical, maybe pivotal moment for females in tech or in STEM, STEAM careers?
Early school, they need to see other women in the field to know it's possible. They need to know, like, they can be doctors, lawyers, IT, they can be all these things, and they can be smart in computers and math, and it's not a bad thing. So, normally women who sort of were quiet about math and science, and be that person in the room that is smart, and you're not looked on less of a female. So I think if they have those seeds planted, they see other women, they see them in go to events that women are presenting. I don't mean only single out women, but I mean go to events where there are some powerful women and they can relate to that. They can see themselves in those eyes. That's where it's important. It needs to plant the seed early. And, they shouldn't be all Barbie dolls. They should be building Lego. They should be doing all these other things. And I know we gave our kids Barbie dolls as well, and they're boys, because we wanted them to have everything. We don't want to restrict them at an early age. So give your kids Lego. Give them computer games that they can build on, because and the females, because they can do it. There's nothing stopping them. It's you stopping them at an early age or segmenting them at an early age that may stop that curiosity.
Was there any question at the commencement? When you were not a part of the computer science, but you were dwelling into computer science because you are coming from the art background. So there was like resentment, in your career phase somewhere.
I would say when I'm with, say, the engineers, I'm not an engineer, but I have a different talent. Like, I could handle a room of 500 people. Not all engineers can do that. So I come from a very different, I guess, a very, not flamboyant, but very expression. I could do a lot of expressions. I teach a different way. So it's a totally different way of teaching the content that sets me aside. And I know when I first started, they were like, how did you get here? What do you hear? And then they saw me present or teach and they get it. They said, oh, I get it now. So you don't have to be down the one path. And I'm going to say I'm equally as strong now because I deliver it so much differently. And even the fact that I can, get those numbers and the pass rates that high, because I teach it differently. And just everyone's different.
Yeah, this is true because not everybody who is good in technical, they're good in presentation.
Yeah.
This is not gender biased, but this is the reality. And
Yeah.
you said that like you changed the whole the paradigm of teaching in your team and everything. But I have always believed that Microsoft, in its mission statement, says that for typically for cloud, it says that learning by doing. So
Exactly.
yeah, so they always say this that in Azure that you have to make your hands dirty, otherwise you cannot learn cloud. So
Right.
why is this like that you have to put an extra effort on your team that they have to move from the PowerPoint paradigm to do more thing in lab?
Well, we're
That's
changing the dynamic of how training is taught. So PowerPoint's great, but you want to change to methods that are actually testing them as they go along. So PowerPoint has its purpose, but I'm going to say there's a lot of textbook knowledge with PowerPoint. True false doesn't really teach you a lot. Even multiple choice doesn't teach you. But when you say, okay, here's a lab environment, go ahead and stop connect this network or block this network or do this. That's how I know you really know what you know. It's not because you can answer true and false, or you can pick the answer from 5 questions. So that's why we're changing. We're just changing the way it's delivered. And I don't know, death by PowerPoint. There's a lot of PowerPoint out there, and it can be long. Like, who wants to do 5 hours of PowerPoint training? Probably not me. So I'm trying to figure out other ways to do it.
And like you are training for quite a long time now, I assume. So is this like after your presentation, is the number of people approaching you or questioning you, is it increasing? Do you see an incremental growth after you give a speech, or you still feel that since you are, I mean, like a female gender, and that is why there is a little bit of still you still feel that there's
No, I
still a
don't.
room of improvement?
Yeah, so I don't get as much feedback because I'm no longer in person, because in-person training, people walk up to you and speak to you and talk to you. Online, it's never the same. Yes, there's some chat things there, but it's not the same because they don't really come up to you. And I've had people hug me, like it's because they just love the presentation or they finally pass. And like, I can't believe how exciting this is. So it's so nice to be part of that and to see the struggles they've had before and to help them over that. It's the best feeling ever. So that's why I do a lot of volunteering, because you want to be able to be part of that journey, that success, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is the best community work you can do, shaping up somebody's career.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorraine.
Very welcome.
Thanks so much. I know we have a couple more presentations this afternoon. I put up the message that Jay has sent in as a MVP. And I'm going to share real quickly before we turn things over to Micah. I had done a poll this morning just asking people when, Lorraine, the same question I asked you about when is the most critical or that turning point for girls or women in IT. And 80% during school, early school.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Dan, did you ever hear of a program called Vex Robots? Anybody?
Vex robots? No, I have not.
No,
Um,
me either.
well, Dell Technologies set this up. They run it in all the schools here in Ireland, and they get kids to they have these kits. They make up the robots, and they actually write a bit of code. I think it's Scratch that they use.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they go along to these universities maybe once a month with their robots, and I was actually a judge at one of them. So they all have their stands and their robot, and it's all different designs, and so that's from primary school. Like, so they're
Yeah.
probably 8, 9, 10 years of age. So and they have fun because they put the robots into this kind of like a pit, and they have to get so many balls to one side or wherever like that. So I think it
Um,
is in some places in America as well, but not too sure.
Yes, I
Okay.
used to travel with the school board for Apple. We traveled around the school boards here teaching, I'm going to say grades 2 and 3 and 4 using Scratch. And we had an iPad and we made obstacle course. And they had this little Sphero robot, you know, the one that looks like from Star Wars. And we had it going around different tracks. And they skipped lunch, they skipped break just to play with this.
Wow.
So it was really, it was an amazing experience because we went to many school boards. And they just made, like, we used tape on the floor and we made a little route and they trained their robots to go down these things. It was brilliant. Brilliant.
That's awesome. Well, as we transition to Micah, I think you wanted to share your screen here as well. I'm going to turn off some video.
All the best, Micah.
I guess it would be good if I unmute. A rookie mistake. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you loud and clear.
Yep,
Okay.
you sound fine.
We can hear you.
Wonderful. Hopefully you don't hear my kids too. That's one thing about being a woman in tech is sometimes you have to deal with little kids out and about, especially when they're coming home early for the holiday. So anyway, we will hopefully make it through this. I have lots of stories about being a mom in tech, so I could go on if we want to talk about it after. But something I'm really super passionate about is helping people save time. I love being able to train people on, what the best way is to be able to get things done and save them stress, because we all know how it can feel to be lost in software and not be able to figure out how to get about things. And then also, as far as like adoption, something else that I'm really passionate about, because the only way to really get people to be able to utilize those tools is if they understand it and they're able to use it. So I kind of fell into the world of technical training. I was a marketing rep for many different companies while I was going to college for psychology. I also worked on a psych unit during that time, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, I decided after graduating from college that I wasn't going to journey on to grad school. I got in, but I decided I really liked the marketing side of things and also training teams. And then I just kind of fell into representing Microsoft. I didn't realize I was technical. I did kind of like an audition for the job and realized I actually was good at technology. I just had always growing up, kind of doubted myself and didn't really think I was capable of that. So it's kind of funny how you can doubt yourself and really not even recognize that there's a skill that you are good at if you don't actually have the opportunity to have that fall into place for you. So anyway, something I wanted to share was how Microsoft Office works together. There's so many great things and so many ways that we can make things more simple for ourselves. And I really think Microsoft Office is probably my favorite of all of the Microsoft tools. So one thing I thought I would share is Researcher. So let's say that we are inside of Microsoft Word and we're writing a paper. We have all of these amazing templates. This is one example that just helps us get started on this research paper. So we don't have to really even figure out the best way of designing this paper. We can just have the colors defined, the really nice fonts defined, and we can even select a picture like this one here and choose to change it if it doesn't match what we're wanting to do. So right click is your best friend, right? You can always get some really amazing options to be able to switch up what's going on and make it customized to what you need it to do. So pretty much you can't go wrong with right clicking if you need something to happen inside of Microsoft Office. So let's say we need to do a little bit of research. We want to write this paper and we're kind of at a loss on where to go from here. We can always go up here to our references tab, and this is where we have some amazing, which I wish would have come out while I was still in college. I graduated in 06, so I just missed it. But luckily it's there now for all those college students out there. So we have this researcher, we can always select it, and we're able to start typing what it is we want to find. So let's say we want to do something like neuropsychology and learning, right? Because we're talking about learning here. We can just hit enter and it's going to find sources for us. And the nice thing is that it even has journal articles. So we could use websites, we could use journal articles. And let's say it's something like this journal article that we want to look at a little bit more. So we can read on about this, see the various topics of it, open it in our browser, and you can see here we're even able to add the source as a citation. So we also are able to go in here and let's say that we see a specific topic that's really appealing to us. We want to add this as a citation to our paper. We're able to simply just highlight this and we can drag it right on in to our paper. And not only this, we can, have this citation quickly and easily made for us so that it's a part of our bibliography. So these sources are going to be able to be added into the master list so that we can quickly and easily have that bibliography built out. So I can just add this source as a citation and create my bibliography. So it just starts creating that for me so I don't even have to worry about it. So let's say that I'm taking my notes. I have some really great ideas on some various things that I want to include. And I'm just kind of entering those into my paper. And from here, I want to maybe take some additional notes on this for someone that is going to be reading my paper. So I can always go in here to OneNote. And OneNote is such an amazing tool. I've been using this since 2011. And even for things like travel, it's something really great that you can use. And they don't have researcher per se inside of OneNote, but they have something similar, which is our search. And the nice thing is at the top of all of Microsoft Office, we have these amazing search bars, right? So we can always go up in here, we can search something, including something like Greece. And if I were to search Greece, we would get this to pop up over here and I could go in and I could find maybe an article that I wanted to read more about. And I can always add that information from that to my OneNote if I would like. So I can go ahead and insert some notes, take my notes. I also have this notebook shared with my husband. So he is able to also look at this and we're able to plan a vacation together. We definitely won't be going to Greece this summer, but this is, why not think big? So anyway, so we can start there and we can take our notes. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. But something else that's really nice is that not only can we take our notes in here, but we can also sync into specific notes that are within documents or sync to specific websites. So I think that this is something that kind of gets lost with the Windows 10 version of OneNote. We can always go into view and we can do our dock to desktop, which used to be up here in the ribbon way back in the day with like Office 2010. But we can always add it here if we want to have it as a part of our quick access toolbar, or we can just access it from view. And we can go in and we can dock to desktop our notes. So now I have my document that I can read from. I can take my notes on it. I can quickly and easily add some information if I want to. And I'm able to just, take my various notes. Now, with Word, it's even better because we can open up that Word document and let's say that we want to go in and take notes on this specific text, okay? We can click on the specific portion of the text where we're reading and we can go in and we can type something about this document. So maybe this is not about Greece, maybe this is about learning, right? For school, for a project, or maybe for a corporate learning environment. So we can take our notes and we can say, let's consider how this affects our paper or whatever the case may be. And in theory, this should start linking directly to our document right where we left off. It looks like there's always going to be a demo that just doesn't go the way that you had planned. But typically, I'm using my daughter's computer, so who knows what happened with this. She's 7, so you never know if something kind of got changed with settings and whatnot. But we can actually sync to a specific part of this document. So when we're finished, we can just go back to our full page view, which is this little arrow here. And the other person who is reading this note can always go and just click right outside of this note, click on it, and have themselves taken directly to that place within Word. So lots of great stuff that we can do here. Something else that I really appreciate is tasks. So I know for me as a mom, I am super busy all the time. I work really long days, and I also, take my kids to dance, and I also have hobbies, like I'm a musical theater. So I am always going. I'm always trying to get everything on my list taken care of. So I can put in here any kind of task that I need to have solved, whether that's personal or whether that's for work. So let's say that I have a task, for example, to follow up with Joe. I can type that in there, and then I'm always able to go up here to my home tab. If you don't like that ribbon kind of disappears, we can always pin that too so that it will just stay for us. And we're able to do an Outlook task. So there are great options here as far as today, tomorrow, this week, and all that great stuff. But I really love the custom task because I need reminders. I need to be told, hey, don't forget you have this task that you need to do. And it also pops up this full Outlook task dialog box. So I'm able to go in here and I'm able to pick and choose when my reminder will be. I can set a due date if I would like. And the great thing is all of this great stuff can also be linked to To-Do. So if I have like Planner within Microsoft Office and To-Do, I am able to have all of this synced together. So there's no way I'm going to forget, which is great because when you have so much going on, it's easy to have one thing fall through. So here is my note. I can just save and close this task. And I'm able to go into Outlook. There's my follow-up there. There's my reminder. And I can go to my inbox. So if I want to from here, I can actually change my view. Within my view, I can choose to add additional options, like maybe not have this just be such a small little amount of information here. I can have it be multiple lines instead of just one line. And within layout, I actually can add a to-do bar. So if I wanted to have my tasks available to me at all times while I'm inside of my Outlook, I can do that. So since this is my personal email, you can see a lot of Christmas wish list kind of tasks here. But yeah, it's really nice and helpful to be able to have these available to you and have those reminders so that you never lose track of what you're trying to get done. So we also have, and I know a lot of people aren't super excited about long PowerPoint presentations, but if you are able to make these PowerPoint presentations fun, then why not? Like you might as well have something that's engaging and that gets people excited. And when you can do something like insert these really beautiful images, whether that's from stock photos or whether that's from online pictures with Bing, that helps you not break copyright laws, which is always lovely. With the Creative Commons licenses, we can always go in here and we can select the picture that we want. And once we have that in, we get these amazing design ideas. So I'm able to look through, I'm able to see what I like or even pick more. And this just automatically pops up, once again, saving me a lot of time. And I can insert my picture. So let's say on my picture, I want to put in here some kind of shapes that have various points because, shapes are a little more fun than a text box full of tons of words, right? And it also prevents people from reading the screen as I'm presenting my presentation, and instead just remember those key points that I want them to remember. And I can also animate them, which is always great. So we could just go in here, we can insert the shape that we want. We can change the fill. We can use our little eyedropper tool from Shape Fill. And we're able to do that to any color maybe within the picture that we want. So maybe we want to do one of these really fun bright blues. We can do that. We can get rid of the outline, or we can just add the recent color that we just got with that eyedrop tool. So lots of easy ways to be able to quickly and easily enable that to look great. From here, we can also change the font. So it seems like a tedious process, but what I'm going to show you next is going to be a way that is going to allow us to not have to do this over and over again. So we have our shape. We can go ahead and put in some white text here. And if we hold Control down as we pull out, we're actually able to get an identical shape. And if we want to, we can actually do this from the second shape and get two identical shapes in addition to that one. So now we have 4. We can use our nice little alignment guides to get them to line up. And we can put our main points inside of circles. So we can just type in our points. And once we're ready, we can give them some animation. So up here from our animation tab, there's so many great things that we can do. Maybe we want to get really crazy and we want them to do something like kind of bounce in or do a bold flash or, split. There's all sorts of great things that we can do. So we're going to go ahead and just choose something. We can go ahead and just add this animation from here as well if we would rather. And we can always change how these appear from the animation pane or just by selecting them. So there's lots of great options here, and then we're able to preview it right within. So I might want to change this around. Obviously, I clicked this one and it happened first, but that animation pane is where you can do that. So we can pick and choose how things are going to appear. And it's crazy. You can actually do like some pretty in-depth, cartoony looking things with just simple PowerPoint. So that is my presentation on how you can get more done with Microsoft Office. They used to call me Microsoft back in the day when I used to do a lot of national training when I was a retail trainer, did train the trainer stuff. So hopefully at some point I'll have some extra time to do something fun with that. That's kind of been on my mind. But yeah, thanks for listening.
That's awesome. I loved the PowerPoint tips and the word stuff. I had never seen the references piece, so that was really cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
It's fun to think how the products work together too.
Yeah, I love that about it.
Any questions for Micah?
From the whole the two discussions which I heard from Lorraine and Micah, I feel that the one thing which is common with both the ladies is like you guys are mostly coming from the marketing side, and you are both outspoken, and this is fantastic. It's very difficult to know who knows technology and then who also knows how to express it in front, and they're not shy enough. So this, I would say that this is a common factor. I was just thinking, I was listening to it. By the way, I'm a huge user of OneNote. I do the same thing. I like to list down my things as well in a categorized way. A bit cynical in this way, but yes, Micah, it was awesome. And regarding the demo, it happens with me every single time. I try to present something, it never works.
Right?
It's a thing. Yes, it always happens.
It's like,
it's
no.
I know, I know. So you are not the only one. So it happens. It happens all the time. It's
Hmm.
something with the whole presentation. I don't know, but it's something which is always, but amazing. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Where
I
would you
did
list your favorite Office apps? What's like your top 3 favorites?
Excel. I love Excel. Um, PowerPoint and OneNote. Yeah.
For
How
me, it's
about you,
hard to
Dan?
pick. It's hard to pick just 3.
Yeah,
It's
I
just,
know.
Teams, I guess I'd put up in the top 3 just because it's kind of the cheater, that you
Yeah.
can integrate OneNote and PowerPoint and pretty much everything in Teams. PowerPoint is just the one that I've had the most fun with, I guess.
Hmm.
And then I'd probably have to say Excel. Same reason, like just there's so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
So
And
I'd
it's a
probably pick
challenge.
those 3.
No, it's the same thing for me as well, Dan. Teams, because as like I'll say again from the automation perspective. So
Yeah.
Teams is something like in the channel I can integrate ServiceNow and Jira. I can do
Yeah.
that. I can throw it out. Excel, yeah, I use a lot of macros. So I build a lot of macros, a lot of pivot table, to showcase it properly, and then finally OneNote that keeps me organized. You want to take a quick screenshot. You want to make a quick and dirty documentation. Just throw everything in OneNote, and it's amazing.
It's
Rain, do
awesome.
you have a top 3?
I do like PowerPoint. I'm not bashing PowerPoint. I'm just saying 8 hours of PowerPoint is a lot of PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yes.
But PowerPoint's very powerful, and I do love OneNote too. I use it for so many things. So definitely my top 2. I don't know what my other one would be. I don't know. I don't know what my third one will be.
My very first Toastmaster speech was called PowerPoint Not Required because
Oh,
just like you, everybody uses PowerPoint.
yeah,
The way to stand out is to not use PowerPoint.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But it's still an industry standard, so it's not like you can get away from it.
Right. Very true. And there's so many new things you can do with, just the visuals like Micah showed.
Mhm.
Focusing on visuals as opposed to the words and the traditional bullet points and that type of thing. Great demo.
Yes.
Thank
I mean,
Love
you.
the eyedropper tool too.
yes. In pre-sales, the pre-sales concept will die if PowerPoint is not there. Yeah, it's fact, Dan. It's a fact. There is so many tools in the market. There are so many things. We are moving into the whole digital world, but nothing beats PowerPoint. Any company approach with any kind of product, the first thing is PowerPoint presentation.
I think
That's
Apple
true.
had a product, remember, but it never could compete. What was Apple's? Pages? Was it Pages?
Yes,
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah,
I think
Pages. Yeah,
they couldn't compete
or
though.
Keynote. Keynote is their
That's right.
Keynote.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Blessing, do you have a top 3 favorite Office apps? I know you're up next. Or anyone else, feel free to either use the chat feature.
I came across
Okay.
Hey, Blessing.
Yes. Okay. My favorite top 3 is Google Slide.
You're a slides user. The nice thing is you can take PowerPoints and import them or export from Google Slides to
Exactly.
PowerPoint too. That's cool. Excellent. Blessing, were you going to share your screen as well, or?
Okay. Yes. I'm working on that now.
Okay.
All the best, Blessing.
And for those just joining us, this is Journey to the Cloud 6.0. We've had 6 of these every other week. And this is our Women in IT session. We are having Blessing. Here we go. It looks like.
All
I'm
right.
not sure if that's.
Hello, everyone. I'm currently having issues with my laptop, so I'm using my phone. Yes, and I'm having little issues, of which I've been trying to rectify for the past minutes now. I apologize for every inconvenience.
No problem. No problem. We have all been there from a standpoint of,
Yes.
and if Restream is new to you, there are some differences here. You should have there should be a rectangle with an arrow into it, similar to Microsoft Teams, to share either a window or a full screen. And if that is not working, you're welcome to come back some other time. We're welcome to give you some time to troubleshoot. We do have a 4th presentation today as well. And fortunately, that was a, thanks, Arindam. Yeah, it's the middle button in the bottom there. There is also the ability, if you're just doing a PowerPoint, there should be a plus to actually upload a PowerPoint. So if all you're trying to do is get maybe slides or images, the plus should have the ability to upload a PowerPoint and then just present the PowerPoint or the slides as well. From a phone, I'm not sure if you would see those options, though. I was just testing my iPad to see what options I see on an iPad, but we do have a 4th presentation from Faith. She was kind enough to send us a recording, and will be our first recording that we play on Journey to the Cloud. So we'll see if we have any technical issues. I think we'll be fine. The only thing is that because it's a recording that I'll be playing, I think everybody's going to go on mute and basically be off camera when we play that. So Blessing, let us know if you, it looks like we do have a full house here.
Okay. Okay, I'm still having the technical issues and I can't really display my screen, but if it's fine introducing myself using just audio.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I go now, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. My name is Blessing Okwong and I'm an undergraduate at the University of Uyo, Nigeria. My journey into tech has been an exciting one and quite challenging as well. With a high rate of unemployment in Nigeria, I wanted graduating from school with at least a trade or a skill. So the offers I had in my locality I didn't have passion for any of them. So I came across a social media post on saying you can be a tech bro. So I told myself I can be a tech girl too. And I got registered at a tech academy close to my school, and I registered for front-end web development. So the experience was challenging, being the only girl at the academy for a period of 3 months at the moment. But I kept going. I kept trying. Well, learning HTML and CSS was a walkthrough, but when it came to JavaScript, not having a knowledge on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, since I wasn't a science-inclined field, studying education at the university. It was quite challenging, but I kept through, and within 3 months, I got a job at a new tech academy to be one of their instructors. And right now, I can boast of 5 front-end web developers, which I have instructed. Also, I got to attend 2 events which I was called on to speak. The first was to secondary school children on my journey so far in tech. So I talked to them on everything about web development and why they should become one. Their responses was quite encouraging, and it gave me the motivation to keep going. On my second event, I spoke on Web3. Yes, I spoke on Web3 and the metaverse. At the end of the event, I got a call from the Igbo, our Eli Barim, and I got a job which I am currently working on. So meeting young girls and telling them how they could find themselves in the tech community has been to me as exciting as preaching the gospel. So to my female students, I keep telling them not to just think like a developer, but to think like a female developer, because I believe that the strongest and powerful creature in the world is a woman who knows how to think. And I do end this saying by saying that there is absolutely nothing she cannot do. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. And that was a great reminder that you don't need video or screens or PowerPoint. I mentioned that my first speech was without PowerPoint because many people may look at it as, you know, something like a requirement, but there were plenty of speeches before PowerPoint, Keynote, slides were available. So thank you so much for sharing, Blessing. Any
Thank
questions
you very
for
much.
Blessing? Blessing, I loved your comment about the most powerful thing is a woman. And, you know, I think encouraging girls and women in tech was something that we've thought about doing through this. And thank you so much for joining us. Any other questions or comments that folks would like to make?
I just want to thank Blessing for coming and sharing her story. We don't realize how much a struggle it is. You know, sometimes outside of North America, how much a struggle it is. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
Just to add what Lorraine said, I'm though I'm living in Switzerland, but I'm basically from India, and we have a lot of these things in my country as well. You know, struggle part, getting yourself, earning a name for yourself, and it's very difficult in my country as well. Blessing. So I completely understand. I mean, like I cannot understand more than you, of course, but to a certain extent, I understand because you know I see that in my country day to day. I mean, like you know, though I'm like more than 10 years outside India now, but still, when I visit, you know, it's very difficult and very hard that we are in 22nd century and they are still. I mean, like you know, not improved that much and in that pace.
Yeah.
But yes, as you keep going, and commendable. Very, very nice job.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, our fourth presentation, we have been, I think I even advertised or updated today. We've been all over the world. We've been in the western part of the world, the eastern part of the world, the north. This has been great. And our fourth presentation today was from somebody. I had the same issue. I thought we were doing this in the morning as opposed to the evening. And I believe the fourth presenter had a conflict at this time, and that is Faith. Faith has been kind enough to record her session. And so I want to give everybody, yeah, thanks. There we go. That's much better. It's sunlight behind me versus sunlight to the side of me, right? Thank you for that.
No
So
worries.
our fourth presentation is from Faith, and Faith has gone ahead and recorded that. It's something that I can play back here, but I believe by playing that back, what will happen is similar to like our intro or our exit video, we will all just be put on basically hold or watching that video. So I want to give everybody a chance to that's still here to give us any last words of encouragement or thoughts you have before we play that video. And then what I'll probably do at the end of the video is just go ahead and play our outro, and we'll end our session for today. Anybody final thoughts, words of encouragement for females, mothers, like Micah said? Lorraine.
Just finding the mute button. I want to say, coming out of this COVID world when we were separated from each other for so long, we need to, not just women, we need to encourage everyone. We really have to reach out and give everyone, like I see people now, I hug people because I miss people. We need to really support each other because we are all struggling, especially out of the situation. We need to support each other, but encourage women, of course, even a little bit more. You have no idea, like look at Blessing's story, how much of a struggle it must have been for her. And it hurts me just to think about it. I see so many, even in India, I see the stories in India and it hurts. And so we need to encourage people to be, be human, be each other's supporters, and, support that person. Say something nice to someone when you walk out. Just, you have no idea how it'll change their world. And that's all I want to say. So I hope I'm not preaching, but I wanted to say that.
No, but it's just like, I read a book and there was one small, very small sentence, but it really has a meaning. It says that appreciate it and be appreciated. So it's something like, you appreciate somebody's work, and then you also feel like, okay, you should also be appreciated at some point of time. It's just a general motivation. People tend to forget
Yes.
every now and then that every contribution matters. Not everybody has to be Einstein, but with one drop of water, you can still fill a glass.
Exactly.
Okay. I have something to say as well.
Sure.
I would really appreciate if young girls, like from my area, like Nigeria, we don't really have the opportunity to go into tech, and from the secondary school syllabus and the university, there is nothing really yet to encourage us, and I would really appreciate if we can be reached out to and given the necessary help to develop ourselves.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. I appreciate you connecting on LinkedIn as well. When you say reach out, are you thinking through social media or other ways as well, Blessing?
Okay, like what Fred is doing with the ALX. Fred Swaniga is doing with the ALX.
Okay. I'll have to look that up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
Okay. Yeah, but we do have your contact information, so we can certainly get more information. If you'd like to expand upon what Fred's doing, was it Fred you said?
Yes. Swaniga, Fred Swaniga.
Okay. And is ALX is that a community or is that a?
Yes, it's a community
Excellent.
for Africans.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look that up. And thanks for sharing.
You're
I think that's
welcome.
one thing, when we think about community, whether it's tech community or just people within, different places and coming together under a common interest is super powerful too. So thank you. Thanks. Anyone else? Final thoughts? I think we had a couple people that had conflicts and needed to leave, but saw a lot of encouragement to Blessing and others from the chat as well. And we do have an amazing job message. And I think what happens with the LinkedIn users that don't have a name is that they're either not connected to us, and so they show up anonymously, or it might be their privacy settings in LinkedIn. The last time we had somebody that showed up as LinkedIn user, it was Cher Delfino, and Cher and I worked together at Microsoft. She's now at McDonald's in the Chicago suburbs. So it might be Cher, it might be somebody else. Well, with that, I'm going to see if we can go ahead and play our video from Faith. And Faith joins us from Nigeria as well, and put together this video to send us out on Journey to the Cloud 6. And I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, depending on where you are in the world. We'll play this and then we'll do our outro from our video. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everyone.
Hi everyone, this is Faith and I am an office administrator and I'll be one of the people talking today. And one of the things I thought about to talk about when I reached out to Matthew, I had in mind to talk about Microsoft security. Microsoft security, how to retain your data, how to secure your data. But because this will be a really short session, I will just try to pick one of the things in Microsoft security that I feel like I'm passionate about and something I really resonate with. And I'll be talking about that. So, under the Microsoft security, I would talk about the Microsoft compliance. So, before it was security and compliance together, then it was divided into Microsoft Defender and Microsoft Compliance. So now it has been rebranded again to Microsoft Preview. And under Microsoft Preview, we have different features in which Microsoft uses to protect organization data, to retain data and make sure that things are not lost, and you can be able to find different content in which your organization have if you have the right license and if you create the policy to do that. So today I picked a particular feature in the Microsoft preview page to talk about, which would be the retention policy. So why did I choose the retention policy? At first, I was looking into the information protection and information governance, but since this session will be a straightforward session, so I decided to pick the information governance in the Microsoft review page. So before, it was called information governance, but right now it has been rebranded. Like I said, Microsoft moved from security and compliance to Microsoft compliance to Microsoft Defender, and now Microsoft Preview, from compliance to Microsoft Preview. So right now, I would be talking about the retention policy under the Microsoft Preview, and yeah, I'll be sharing my screen on how to create that policy. So let's just give a background of what the retention label, the retention policy is all about. So we understand, or Microsoft understands, that you want your content, your organization content, to be stored somewhere, to not be deleted or lost forever, so that you can be able to retain certain content, documentation, sites that you have within your organization. So to retain data, the retention policy helps to retain certain data, to either retain it or delete it. So, according to the retention policy, what it actually does is, depending on your condition, you can retain and delete after a few years, after as long as you want, or you can retain it forever. So it's depending on what works for your organization. So right now, I'll be taking you through the process of creating the retention policy. I'll try to be direct and try to explain each and every step. Okay, so here we go. Just give me a minute. Let me share my screen. Share. I hope you can see my screen clearly. Let me confirm. Okay, great. Great. Okay. Yeah, okay, great. So, like I said, under the Microsoft preview, it was once called Microsoft Compliance. Well, Microsoft is trying to rebrand different features in Microsoft Security. So they're changing few things, but the the security increases and time some of it remains the same. So before, what we're looking at right now is the data life cycle management. Before, the retention policy wasn't here. The retention policy was in a folder called information governance. It was also with this under information protection. You would see information governance, but right now it's not like that any longer. So right now we would go to the retention policy I was talking about, that we're going to focus on today. So retention policy would retain or retain for a specific period that you choose, from your emails to your Teams and Yammer chat to your SharePoint site, your OneDrive account. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead to create a new policy, and I'll name this retain content. Okay, I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. Click on next. You can give it what name you want. So now we're going to we're in the page that says choose the type of retention policy you want to create. So we have two types, which is the adaptive type of policy and the static policy. So the adaptive policy, which is not always selected, is a policy that insists you select a particular attribute. Like he said, you are supposed to select whether a particular department. Okay, if you want people in the HR department, any record from the HR department to be stored, retained, any content, it will pick it up. It will retain those content from that attribute you selected. So let's say you selected the finance department, or you selected a particular site URL, SharePoint site, it would only retain content in that attribute that was selected. But when we talk about the static is only retaining the content in the location at which you choose. So we have locations like the SharePoint, OneDrive, Exchange, Teams, Exchange public folder. So we have those locations. So if you select locations like Exchange or SharePoint, it's going to retain content based on those locations. So I'm going to select static because adaptive is not really recommended for me. So it depends on what your organization wants. So now under static, it shows you the location to apply the policy. So you can decide to apply it, like I said, to exchange emails. You can decide to select if you want a certain group of recipients to be added. You can add to certain groups, or you want everyone to be added to this policy. Don't worry, don't select anything. It's just going to cover everyone. So you can decide to add SharePoint sites, OneDrive accounts, Microsoft 365 groups. Or you can decide, oh, you want it for only Exchange. That's fine too. You can have different policies for different locations. Some might also have policies for Teams channel messages or Teams chats, depending on what you want, really, depending on what your organization wants. So I'm going to select Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Microsoft Groups, and Teams. You can decide, okay, sorry, you can't have Teams chats and Exchange and other locations together. Teams chat is just for one policy. You're only supposed to have Teams chat in one policy. You cannot have Teams chat location, other locations together in one policy. So I'm going to turn off this and turn on Exchange, SharePoint, and M365 groups. Then next. So yeah, this is the action I was talking about. So you can decide to retain items for a specific period. Here it says 7 years, but you can drop down or choose custom and select a particular year or month, but I don't want to do that here. I'm just going to select 10 years. So yeah, so the retention policy, the retention period is based on what you decide. So it can be based on when the items or content were created or when it was last modified. So you can decide to choose anyone, but I'll decide to choose items when they were created. So at the end of the retention period, you can decide to delete at the end of it or do nothing. So if you decide to do nothing, it means that it's going to retain it forever. So it's really tricky in the sense that if you are choosing this option, you can as well choose retain items forever because they are basically doing the same thing. the action is doing the same thing. And at the same time, if you choose this and you select delete items automatically, you can do this. The action is the same. So if you choose only delete items when they reach a set, you can select 10 years. When they reach 10 years, delete it. So this action basically does the same thing for the other two actions. It's almost the same thing for two of them. So I would select do nothing after 10 years, which is retain items forever. Let me just choose that since it's the same action. So we click on next and we click on submit. You can decide to take a minute to review your policy and conditions. Yes. Now we've been able to create a retention policy, and this would, if take it in the locations we selected, which is the Exchange, the SharePoint, the OneDrive account, and the M365 groups. So there's one thing I also want to point out, which is the inactive mailbox. Under inactive mailbox, it means that if a user was deleted, a user leaves the organization, goes somewhere else, and their account is deleted, their mailbox would be kept, would be retained, because that mailbox has a lot of content, emails, details, and data of the company. So it will be retained under inactive mailbox. And when you want to retrieve emails from the inactive mailbox of a user that has left, you can run a PowerShell to move the emails from the inactive mailbox to a new mailbox so that you can access it using that new mailbox. Or you can come to content search and run a content search on the inactive mailbox to pull all the content in that inactive mailbox. Either way works fine for you. So yeah, so the inactive mailbox, it only works for Exchange. It only works for Exchange and no other the SharePoint site and the OneDrive. It only works for Exchange. So yes, so that's the breakdown of the retention policy. I hope this was pretty clear and pretty straightforward. I was given 20 to 25 minutes, but I've been able to. It's a pretty straightforward feature, and I didn't want to go for a feature that would keep me explaining different things. I just wanted something that was easy, straightforward, and you can be able to create almost immediately. So this feature requires you to have global admin access to the tenant or the compliance administrator. So if you're a compliance administrator in your organization, you can be able to access this feature, and you have the right licenses, you can be able to access this feature and create this policy and assign this policy to different locations or groups or users. So yeah, I hope this has been insightful. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate your time, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.
I'd like to thank Blessing for having given us a audio only. We just had played the video from Faith, which was on the retention policies in Azure, and Azure, what used to be Azure Purview and is now Microsoft Purview. It's gone to general availability. Arindam, any thoughts? I know this is one of your areas.
Yeah, I mean, like, Dan, I have just, I'm running one of the data governance project, which is using Microsoft Purview. So it's amazing to see such thing, and I was very it was very clear. Even it's a recording, she was, I mean, very clear in explaining the whole concepts and everything, and it's always a refresher, when you know that you know the things, but it's still always refresher to go again the same contents once again to just refresh your own concepts. So it was fantastic. She's not here, but yeah, of course I'll write something on the LinkedIn so that the messages see that it was very good. It was a very nice demo.
Yeah, definitely. This was something that I always wanted to try with this because we obviously have done a pretty good job of finding a time that works for our friends overseas, and vice versa, right? With whichever way you look at the overseas piece. But if the date and time doesn't work for you, it may be a standing meeting that you have. It might be nighttime for you. It might be the morning, and you're commuting to work. Having that option of having guests on that we have recordings of, I think really gives us some other options on expanding this and including other voices besides the 7 or 8 of us at this point. And then we have a 10 limit, so we did hit our 10 guests this episode that we're in, and I did suggest the 11th person gets a message, or I get a message that says you already have your 10 guests in Restream. So there's a physical limit. It's not like just who can be on camera. It's how many people you can actually host in the Restream environment at once. So
Yeah, I
thank
mean,
you
like
so much. Go ahead.
with
Yeah.
with every cloud journey to the cloud version, Dan, you are reaching out more people. I think you have to eradicate this 10 limit very soon.
We're gonna have to look. I don't think I saw there's a plan where I can put more team members for getting more people to put their social channels as where we're broadcasting. But I don't think I saw anything where you could increase past 10. And I don't know if it's just the layout kind of situations or the streaming that they need to do on their end, where the 10 limit came from. But I'll have to look into that because we've definitely gotten to the point where we have 10 people at a time. But the recordings would be our other creative way around that, right? So we could do recordings of 2 or 3 sessions. You can even schedule them. So Restream also allows us to schedule a session. I'll be traveling. Matthew and I are going to meet next 2 Saturdays from now in person in Ireland. And
Awesome.
because
this is the first time. This is the first time. This is the man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is cool. But yeah, I mean, like, at least with this whole initiative, you achieved 2 things. One is the audio presentation, and then promoting women in technology. So I mean, like, I think with this session, you at least hit 2 goals in one stone.
Yeah. And I love the way it worked out that way. I don't know if Matthew had this plan when he reached out, but we had so many different areas of Microsoft technologies covered today. It wasn't just all the same. We had a Microsoft employee, Lorraine. We had Microsoft. We had
the Microsoft was amazing, Dan. I was laughing. I was like, oh man, so creative.
She told me that under confidence because she was planning something with it, and I was like, this is going to be hard to keep under covers because that is an awesome, either company or even using it. The company, you'd probably have to make sure there aren't any issues with copyright. But for a podcast or something, great.
I would say that it's a brand name itself. Microsoft. It's how would I say? It's just catching.
Yes.
It's really catching.
Yeah.
So,
Any other comments as we?
No, I think, Dan, I'll just say one last thing is that, in my whole connection of LinkedIn, I just saw, 2 months back, a Sweden group, which promoted women in technology. They spoke a lot, and this is your initiative, your and Matthew's initiative. And I think, you should every now and then, come up with, some ideas like this, where, we can all collaborate and we can all talk together. It doesn't have to be any fancy technologies, but even talking about few things, it can be great. So yeah, it was a very, very nice initiative, Dan. Thank you so much for inviting us. It was lovely.
Yeah, Matthew, all of the coordination and the effort and the guests go to Matthew. I am just happy to support and be here to meet people. This is wonderful to just increase the amount of people that you can say And Lorraine, like you said, we can't give hugs other than virtually, but this is one way to just feel like when you're visiting places, you have different people that you're reminded of or think of when I used to go up to Mississauga or the Toronto area. It was a other people as well. So really nice to have those connections when you travel as well.
For sure. Keep in touch, everybody.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And Lorraine, thank you so much.
And Dan, you did a wonderful job.
Thanks. Well, everyone, my female in driving us to go out on evenings. So my mobile phone was charged, and I will tell everybody long weekend if you are celebrating Memorial Day. That is Monday. I believe Monday Microsoft has off, correct, Lorraine?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Monday is closed.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So have a wonderful long weekend, everyone, and look forward to scheduling the next one of these, hopefully live with Matthew and I in the same place as opposed to halfway around the world.
That will be fantastic. Be fantastic. But in case if you cannot host or something comes up, do post some pictures, because you're meeting for the first time, because on this platform.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll take some video, and we hope to do something like this. But I land 2 weeks from Saturday, midday in Dublin, and then Matthew's meeting me there, and I've got to make the plans for the other places I need to visit while I'm over there, and then I'm meeting my family towards the end of June. So it'll be a fun time to reconnect with some people, meet some new people, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a wonderful trip.
We wish you a safe trip.
Yeah,
safe journeys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, everyone, this has been Journey with the Cloud 6.0, and have a wonderful rest of your day, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy your time. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.